Oh, all right. Let's do this, people. Let's do this. Oh, it is pouring rain outside. It is windy. It is stormy. It's been raining and hailing, and it's even supposed to maybe snow at some point. A little bit sleet. It won't stick here in Jerusalem, but I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country. But here in this house this night, it's nice and warm and cozy. I changed into my, nice dry pajamas. Oh, wow. I am so blessed. So blessed. All right, so let's do this. Now, I'm excited. You know why I'm excited? Well, obviously, I have many reasons to be excited. I'm here with you guys, and it's awesome. For the past 2 days, as I said on Monday, I've been uploading. So Monday, Tuesday, and today, or was it just yesterday and today? Anyway, I've been uploading 130 of my old videos, as I said, thanks to Seth Hall, the Nazarite, who told me that I should maybe recreate some of my older videos that were providing different information and things. And I looked and I saw that I had saved some from 2018 and I've been uploading them. It's been so lovely to re-upload them and to get your views, your comments, different things having to do with those old videos that I haven't looked at in such a long time, and I'm getting sort of to re-experience them now. I'm not watching every single one as I'm uploading, but I'm sort of remembering kind of what they were, watching a couple of them. They were the short ones, usually between, like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes less. And it's been so much fun to rediscover those old videos right along with you guys. It's a lot of fun. And so, one thing before I get into this, and to the chat that's already streaming, I can see with people here. Hello, hi, good people. I see Ariel Marshall is here. Little Andre is here. Robert Harrison is here. Anyone else? Anyone else? Lisa is here. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? And Yodidiao is here. Hello, Yodidiao, the Gimatria man. Khalid Ben Walid is here, who just got back from the gym. How was it, man? How was it? I haven't been to a gym in a dog's age. Oh man, I gotta get back. I gotta get back to working out. Oh my god! But forget all that. Let's now. Little Andre said that he wanted to. That he said something in last time's chat. So I'm going to move over a screen right now, a tab to Monday's chat. Read the end of it and then jump right over here. Little Andre said we were talking about the 10 lost tribes of Israel. We were talking about written Torah and oral Torah, and he says this. He says, by the way, said little Andre, can I share something I wrote in my Bible if it's not too late? And it was, because I didn't get to see it or read it at the time, but I'll do so now at his behest. There's a good chance I would have done it anyway, but he wanted me to read this. So he says, no, it's not adding to the commandments for those who might wonder. He says, and of Shimon, right? So little Andre either associates himself or feels very connected with the tribe of Shimon, right? The second born. And he says, of Shimon, he should have said, he is likened to a roaring lion. His weapons are implements of violence. Therefore, and although they dwell within the borders of Yehuda, he needs no protection. Right, so the tribe of Shimon. Wait, he was within the borders of Yehuda? I don't recall. You mean of the kingdom of Judah? Or do you mean because the kingdom of Judah was primarily Judah, Benjamin, and parts of Levi? I don't recall where Shimon was situated in the old map. Where was Shimon? Quickly, Jonathan, try and remember your book of Joshua. I don't remember where it is. I might look it up, but right now I won't. So little Andre says, and of Shimon he should have said, right, giving the blessings, he is likened to a roaring lion. Now, I'm not sure if we were talking about it at the time, if we were talking about the blessings which Jacob gave his sons, the actual Shimon, or if we're talking about the tribe of Shimon, which did not receive a personal blessing from Moses. The tribe of Shimon was included in the general blessing before Moses died, in Vizot HaBracha, the final parsha of Torah, the final Torah portion, but he doesn't give Shimon a personal blessing. And this goes back to Shimon and Levi also being singled out by Jacob as those who or klei chamas mecherotehem, right? They were filled with wrath and with anger, and whereas Levi, according to tradition and interpretation, whereas Levi's wrath was, let's say, sacred and righteous, if you will, the wrath of his brother Shimon was different, and there was more din. There was also the things going on with the Kozvi Batzur, right, the Midianite, and the man of Shimon, who were killed, both of them by Pinchas. And so he did not receive a blessing in person. And so Shimon, little Andre, has a connection, according to him, with the tribe of Shimon. So he was likened to a roaring lion. His weapons are implements of violence. And although they dwell within the borders of Judah, he needs no protection. Interesting. Let's continue. Now, S.E. Hall said at the time, right? Why wouldn't the written Torah itself mention or allude to the oral Torah or a need for an oral Torah? And why wouldn't Moses just simply write it? Well, are you saying, well, if we're talking about an oral tradition that was meant to be kept oral until it was written down because of great distress and exile and destruction, or because of that it was written down, but it should not have been written down. It was, but it should not have been. And it wasn't until that time. All of the different traditions going by tribe, going by different locations, rabbis, traditions, then it was whittled down, if you will, and narrowed down and made into halacha. This goes on in the Mishnah, it goes on later in the Talmud, and that's what was written down. So why wouldn't the Torah itself mention or allude to the oral Torah or a need for the oral Torah? Now, I think you could say that the written Torah does allude to it, not as such, but there are mitzvot, chukim, and mishpatim. There are commandments, and there are laws, and there are guidelines or rules, different statutes, which are sort of mentioned. There's like a hint of them, an allusion of them, allusion with an A, right? But there is no, in all of the Tanakh, if you look like just simply face value, just at the surface, at the text, there is no mention of an oral tradition. There is no mention of the oral Torah. And yet we know that there were leaders and there were people and there were prophets, and those were not, all of those were not all mentioned in the written Torah. What you do have in the written Torah is some commandments where it's just a tiny little sort of, just maybe a verse or two, and you have other commandments where it's expounded on greatly. And the sages sort of took their traditions and the 13 attributes primarily, those 13 attributes by which the Torah is learned and is taught, and that later became how you rule on halacha. Basically, I mean, I'm not a man of halacha, and so I'm not going to speak of it at length. But why wouldn't Moses simply write it down? Because some things which you speak you may not write down, and that which you write down you may not say orally. There is such a teaching. And as I said personally, I believe that there was an oral tradition that was handed down and that was given, which is where we got all those different traditions. Some traditions were made in Babylon, right? And then they came back with Ezra and Nehemiah back to Zion. And so it's not clear, right? And what we have, the Orthodox Jews, at any rate, what we have is Ba'alei HaMesorah. The Mesorah is the handing down of the tradition, the way that the Torah is written down in the scroll, the different trup, right? The melody, the te'amim as it's known, the nigun, right? The music of the Torah. That's something that is not written in the scroll. The punctuation marks are not written in the scroll. Much like the name of God is written, Yod He Vav He, but spoken Adonai. There's a written Torah and there's an oral Torah, and both of them exist in the written Torah to a degree, but it's not. I can understand why there are those who say that the oral Torah has no place at all and it's all made up. Some go so far as to say that it's complete nonsense, all made up by the Orthodox rabbis who basically drove out the other sects, right? The Ebionites and the Essenes and the Sadducites and all the other ones over there at the time of the Second Temple. And because of their aggressive suppression of those other sects and groups, that's what remained, right? What we know now as Orthodox Judaism as it was handed down. And by the way, we can see that over time, ever since we went to the exile of Edom, after Babylon after Rome burned the Second Temple, we have many, many traditions and customs and all kinds of things that were added on. And a few hundred years ago with Hasidism and with the Lurianic Kabbalah being made manifest in the world, right, with the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, we had a whole other thing that came into being. And now, for instance, if you ask a run-of-the-mill Orthodox Jew, right, a rabbinic Jew, having to do with the prayers, having to do with the different rituals, it was like, no, things that are only a few hundred years old are accepted as something that a Jew does, and this is how it's done. So we see that there are external influences that make themselves part of the Hebrew way as it's known in Rabbinic Judaism. So why was it not written down? Because it wasn't supposed to be written down. For the same reason that Yod He Vav He is written without the punctuation and in the scroll, without punctuation and without the music, right? It's mankind, it's the human being who puts forth the voice, the melody, and the punctuation. And the name of God is written Yod He Vav He, but pronounced Adonai. Different punctuation, different letters, different vowels, that whole thing. And that sort of represents, to some degree, the written and the oral Torah. And that's represented in the tree of life through Tiferet and Malchut, right? The two, well, anyway, I don't want to get into the tree of life right now because I'm going here with, I had so many videos on the tree of life and they're all gone. Thank God. Let's see. So was there a need for the oral Torah? I believe there was a need, because if you're going to say that certain commandments and certain words of God, certain things that are written in the Torah are punishable by this, that, or the other, but you don't have the specifics, how on earth are you going to understand it in the proper way? Most likely you're going to need something that goes along with that written Torah. Now, you could say that I'm simply looking for something that isn't there and making excuses retroactively for something that does not even belong. If you ask a Karaite, like little Andre here, he'll tell you, no, it's the written Torah. That's it. That's what we're going with, right? The Karaim are named Karaim because Mikra is the name of the 5 books of Moses, one of the names, and it's that which you read. They did not accept the rabbinic traditions as being binding. And that, which is why I really hold them in great and high esteem. There's also what was said over there on Monday. I think it was probably S.E. Hall who said it, or maybe someone else, who said that different pieces and parts of the Israelites, like the ancient Israelites, when the rabbinic Jews wanted to introduce them to halacha, they were like, we don't know that. We don't know what that's about. Now, I'm not going to sit here, right, so many years later, thousands of years later, nearly 2,000 years since the Second Temple was burned to the ground by Rome, and say, oh, no, I know exactly what's going on. It's this and this and that. No, I'm not going to say that because I don't know. But what we do have is a very strict adherence to tradition, even if certain things were added on, and certain things were added on. Make no mistake. I know that. I can see it plainly with my own eyes. But I still think that the origin, the source of Torah is written and oral, much like the source, right? God's name, the 4-letter name of God, the Tetragrammaton, is written and spoken differently. That's the greatest allusion to the written Torah. Now, this, of course, people could say, no, 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 there is no Adonai. You're supposed to pronounce it Yod He Vav He with those vowels, with that punctuation, the way that it is. Plenty of people do that. And who can forget Monty Python, right? And the life of Brian, in one of the early scenes, the stoning scene, where it's when what all I said was that this piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah. Ah, blasphemer! Good stuff. Good stuff. So, as for the questions, I'm going to discuss them and address them. It's what I'm doing right now. But to say that I have answers, I don't have answers. What I have is the masoret. Masoret or masorah means that which was handed down. And I believe that there's a lot there. Despite all of the different places and times and people who have warped it, who have censored it, who have destroyed some of it, no doubt, what we are left with here is something where, even though it's different, and it is different, and some people may not acknowledge it, its root and its source, for me, still hold a lot of water and a great significance. So that's what I'm going to say to that. Robert Harrison said, love you, HN. Much love. Much love to all of you out there who are bearing with my ramblings. Little Andre continues and says, Seth, exactly. He says, it doesn't, right? The Torah does not allude to it. He says to Andre, what are you saying woohoo to? Okay, I guess he was saying something before at the time. And little Andre finished and said, sorry, I just need to know when he's finishing up, right? That just as I was finishing, because I'm pausing the video again to save data. Oh, little Andre, save your data. Honestly, not being pejorative right now. And as I've said to him before, sometimes you should not waste data on the likes of me. There are more important things to keep that data for, but if you have it, go for it. Happy to have you here. Happy to have all of you guys here. All right, let's move along right now. Was there anything else that you wanted me to say? Okay, hang on. Sorry for the wasted time here. Okay, so let's go to this chat right here. Whoa, there's already so much going here. Let's see. Ariel says, "Hey Yona, is that right, or is it Yoni?" So it's Yonatan. I was Yoni from like age 0 until 20 when I joined the army, and I decided that I want to take my name and own it and be Yonatan. So let's see. I've heard people call you both before, so a tad confused, right? So Yoni is a nickname for Yonatan, a shortened version of Yonatan. Many people who knew me from before, I decided to claim Yonatan. Call me Yoni. I'm fine with it. People can call me Yoni. I don't go by Yona, but when I first started this channel like 3.5 years ago, right, the old one, I went by Jonah because I didn't necessarily want to have my name attributed to it. But over time, I took more possession, let's say, of my name, even in this capacity, this digital world, and I decided to be Jonathan, right? And that's what I go by. I go by Jonathan, but you can call me Yoni if you want. Thanks once again for making yourself available for us to interact with you and for sharing. I am happy to do it. I am thankful for you, all of you out there, for engaging, for educating me, enlightening me, providing me with value. I'll keep saying it because it doesn't stop being true. And I was just telling my woman before a couple hours ago when I was going back and forth with Andre and with one or two others in the in the DMs. I was like, you know what? I could be doing so many time wasting things with the phone, and I do, but some of my days I'm really engaged with these DMs and with answering comments here on YouTube, in text or over here in video, and I'm so thankful that I get to do that. Considering all the time that I waste, considering all the time that I may be wasting, I have this to counter that: real talk, real practical talk, and I love it, and it's so good, and it does me a lot of good. And for sharing your knowledge of scripture. Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate it. I won't be able to join in the live chat today, so I just want to ask you a question or two while I can. Feel free. I'm going to try and address them. Little Andre says to Ariel, I've seen a Facebook friend of his called both Yoni and Yona, I think, which I wanted to ask about him as well. So yeah, he asked me about that. I have a friend Yoni from my old platoon, and a friend of mine, right, from my old reserve platoon. And that's it. I mean, people named Jonathan can be named Yoni if they want. It's a very common way to shorten it. And one of the more famous Yonis was Yoni Netanyahu, the prime minister, the former prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu's brother, who was a commando soldier who died, I think, while storming Entebbe, right back in the 70s. The operation for liberating the Air France passengers, and I think he died there. He may have been the only one who died when they stormed the airport. Maybe one other one died. I think it was him. There's a book called Michtavei Yoni, Yoni's Letters, which I didn't read, but I've read passages and certain parts of it. So yeah, Jonathan is Yoni. You can call me whichever one you want. All right, but I forgot, he says, little Andre. So yeah, he asked me, and hopefully I addressed it now. I want to hear more about Jonathan's dreams on his transformation after death. Very interesting. Um, well, you know what? Things are kind of fleeting right now, and I know that I said I'll give it time and consider it more, but in the last 2 days I haven't. And dreams. Oh, so by the way, there was a time in my life where I was practicing where I was readying myself for lucid dreaming, and I may have mentioned this in the past. And I had a dream journal, and I woke up every morning or in the middle of the night, if that was the case, and I wrote down my dreams, and it really, really helped me. It was back when I was in yeshiva for a long time, for like 6 months or close to a year, maybe. I had a couple of notebooks full of dreams, and a few of them were downright prophetic. I'll just give you one, which I may have mentioned in the past. My woman and I, when we weren't really boyfriend and girlfriend. We weren't really together at the time. We knew each other, but we weren't really together or going out at the time. But I think that we were coming together again, sort of getting close and back in touch after a while that we weren't. We had a dream that we got married. We had that dream the same night, and we spoke of it the following morning, and we deduced that we probably had it actually literally during the same time of night or close to that, because it was close to when we woke up that we had it. And so that's a crazy one. I had a few, well, let's say more, I had a few very personal and other like prophetic sort of dreams, but I'm not going to share them right now. I don't think it's time yet, let's put it that way. And which really, really oriented me in a way where it was God speaking to me into or through my unconscious or subconscious, saying, "What you're doing is good. Keep doing that. And I'll keep it at that right now. Let's see. So yeah, it is very interesting, but alas, the dreams right now, they kind of elude me a little bit and they are escaping me. I don't write my dreams down anymore, even though I should. And I did manage to be a quite a good lucid dreamer because of that dream journal and because of certain things that I practiced before going to bed. I was able to do it. If you are at all interested in lucid dreaming, do your own research, get it done. I can tell you this: when you write a dream journal, at least this was the case with me, I began to see over time patterns in my dreams, and I was able to attribute certain things about me to them. Because they say that the characters in your dreams represent primarily parts of yourself being projected as different characters, but they are all part of your psyche. There's also in Derech Adonai, in Derech Hashem, the Ramchal, he has a bit there where he speaks of dreams and about prophecy, the connection between them, the string that is sort of threaded, let's say, from the higher consciousness to the lower consciousness into the dreaming mind and into the person who is asleep. He describes it there in a beautiful way. I don't know it that well. I haven't studied that book in a long time. Recommended, by the way. Derech Hashem, the Ramchal, the way of God or the path of God, along with the path of the just, Mesilat Yesharim. Oh my God, those two books. He was a Kabbalist, a poet, a playwright. He was persecuted. His books were burned. He had to run to Amsterdam. It was a whole thing. But now he's recognized as one of the deepest and most amazing Kabbalists, Lurianic Kabbalists, I think, that there were. And he even came up with a new Tikkunei Zohar. There's the Tikkunei Zohar, which deals with the first verse of Bereshit, of Genesis, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. He, 70 different interpretations of that one verse, esoteric interpretations, and he came up with 70 esoteric interpretations of the final verse of the Torah. So take a look at that if you want. What a Kabbalist. So let's see. Who here has hit the like button? Well, a couple of people have hit the like button, and I thank you people if you did. Ariel says, my dad taught me as a kid to only trust my own eyes and ears. So naturally, I tend to question all kinds of things. Good, keep doing that. I'm even skeptical, pardon me, about the benefits of skepticism sometimes. Well, it's good to be skeptical of skepticism, and it's good to keep it part of your ongoing thing nevertheless. That's what I think. Ariel continues and says, but as I used to work in the visual effects industry, developing photorealistic content for holographic technology, that's a mouthful, I have learned that along with other technology, I can no longer trust my own senses. So you know what? I dig that, especially now with deepfake and all that. What do you think about modern technology, artificial intelligence, CGI, voice impersonation, etc.? I have never been faced with that question. It's a great question, and here's what I have to say about it off the top of my head. Human beings, we are creators. We make tools. With those tools, they build upon each other, and we are eventually, through our creativity, use of tools, through different things that we have acquired through the hundreds of thousands of years of existence, we're able to get more and more and more in touch with ways of widening our spectrum of understanding and of all our senses. The basic interpretation and practical implementation of this are things like radio waves, TV waves, cellular waves, right? Microwaves, where we are able to harness all of these forces of nature through the implementation of different tools, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, right? Gamma rays, all of those different things. We have a very limited spectrum in our own physical mortal coil. But because we are human and because we are in B'Tselem, right? Because we are in the image of God, the Creator, it behooves us almost to be creators ourselves. The thing is this, and this Rav Kook says, he said that one of the great downfalls of humanity, which brings along so much confusion, hey Pinky, one of the great downfalls of humanity is that we manage to make all of these technological advances and widen our spectrum of understanding, hey girl, and of sight and sound and everything. We are able to perceive so many things, but then we use those tools in order to satisfy the most basic and carnal of desires. And he said, in doing that, it's a great dissonance, right? That is almost unbearable between our capacity and our perception and what we do with it. And that brings along great confusion. and that brings along great doubt. And what you're talking about here, I think, when you say that you can no longer trust your own senses, is that doubt, because the senses can be fooled. It's all, as Morpheus says, right? It's all different electricity and chemicals and the way that it's interpreted by your brain, right? And now the brain, some people say we use this amount, that amount. The brain is something that can also be trained. It can also be developed. You can develop certain parts of your brain through meditation, through prayer, through different techniques and teachings. And so, what do I think about it? I think that modern technology is a marvel. I think that, much like Rav Kook said, the secret is, I think, in order to avoid the confusion and to trust yourself once again, is to not pathologize all of this technology, to not pathologize the artificial intelligence, the CGI, the voice impersonation, or rather, even if it will be pathologized by others, to discern, to cultivate and develop your own capacity of discernment. There's a reason why it says that Chava's eyes were opened after she ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because then you are able to discern. But on the other hand, when now you have good and evil and knowledge and a union of the two, that's what knowledge is, like the biblical knowing. Then you are at a great, great battle between what is experienced in the world and what you know, like inherently can be done about it. Something like that. I mean, I'm kind of tripping over my words right now. But I think that all of these technologies and all of this, CGI, artificial intelligence, voice impersonation can be put to great and amazing use. And it's up to us. It's up to us to figure out what we use it for. What is it that we are consuming? But I think that we have our limitations. And when we have and by the way, I don't know enough about modern technology. I don't know enough about CGI, AI, voice impersonation, augmented reality, virtual reality. I don't know enough about it. But what I do know is that I have the Torah, I have the commandments, I have the covenant which I've taken on, which was which was given to me and which I embrace and I accept and I want to run with it. And what it tells me there is that the Torah is not over the sea and it's not up in the sky, right? It's in my heart and in my mouth. That's what Moshe says. And I think that's what he tells the children of Israel. He says, don't make the mistake of thinking that it's some faraway thing. It's right here. It's right here. So, what I'm thinking, again, off the top of my head, is that all of those things will continue to exist and develop. And it's up to us to be the ones who discern between good and evil. And in order to do that, we need to develop our capacity for knowledge, knowing. We need to create that union between, that which we are, that which we could be, and that comes first of all for me with hitbodedut, with seclusion, isolation, meditation, with things having to do with being alone, if only for a time, daily, and speaking to God spontaneously. It's been many, many years since I've regularly davened, prayed out of a prayer book. And my prayer, as those who follow me know, my prayers are 99.9% of them are all hitbodedut, spontaneous dialogue between myself and the Most High, just me, no tools, right? Just my heart and my mouth. That's it. I feel, and I might be wrong here, that if you set aside time every single day to connect with your heart and your mouth and connect that with the Most High and speak that being forward, again to quote Dr. Peterson, which I love that quote, to speak your being forward. If you set aside time every day to speak spontaneously and freely with the Most High as a friend, as a lover, as a father, as a judge, as a king, whatever revelation, right, is revealed to you at that time, then if you create that deep and intimate relationship with the Most High, then you will be able to learn more and more how to discern. And so, even though you might be faced with all of these things that are meant to trick your senses and fool you, you will have already gained some wisdom through that practice, and you will be skeptical, and you might even be skeptical of skepticism, but there is a part of you that is true, a pillar which you have built through your own doing without any tools. Go out to the woods, go out to nature, right? Or in your room, under your blanket at night, as I like to do, and talk to God plainly, like I'm talking to you right now. Everything, the good things, the bad things, the things you have, the things you don't have, the things you wish you have, the things you had and lost. Everything. Talk to God. And you will find that you are really talking to the God that is within you, so to speak, right? That divine revelation that is within you. And that has a point of truth to it that cannot be marred, and that cannot be warped, and that cannot be faked, and that cannot be overridden by any software. It can't be hacked. It can't be manipulated because it's something that you have built from the ground up and you know. Now, you are also supposed to not rely on yourself so completely that you're blind because you are blind to your own strengths and you are blind to your own weaknesses. And so you need to leave a bit of skepticism. You need to be open minded. But first and foremost, you need to learn how to trust yourself in the face of all this. And the way that you learn how to trust yourself is to not pathologize yourself. The way to do that, as I see it, is hitbodedut, Torah, commandments, right? That's the way that I see it. That's my answer. It may not be an answer. It's me just, speaking about it. It may not be what you wanted to hear, but that's what I think. I think there's great promise there. But countering that great promise, that infinite field of potential, is what we actually eventually put it to use for and with. So you need to make that decision that I'm going to use this technology for the better. I'm going to take all of these advancements, all of these developments, and I'm going to try, because who knows, right? I'm going to try. Master Yoda would say, do or do not, there is no try. But I'm going to say, you're going to try. It's all I have. There are no absolutes. So I'm going to try and harness those in such a way where I will be able to build myself up through them. That's part of why I'm doing this, right? I mean, because I waste time on the internet and I do things which I probably ought not to do on the internet, but I'm also doing this. And it's because I do this on a daily basis, just like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. It's because of my ability, I think, to do this too on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and I hold it in very high regard and with great significance. And I come here with a great deal of hopefully humility and the open-mindedness and the willingness to learn and to understand that I don't know everything and that there's so much more to gain and to learn and to know that it will be able to overcome the parts of me that have been pathologized, and it will be able to rectify them, cleanse them, purify them, where even these technologies, which I might put to bad use sometimes, I won't any longer. That's what I'm going to say about that. Robert, says little Andre. Robert, oh, me. Little Andre says, Ariel, my bad, by the way. He's just called Yoni as well. So yeah, some people call me Yoni. I don't correct them. I mean, I'll correct them if they haven't been doing it for a very long time. It's like, that's what I told my commander when I just started basic training. The first week of basic training, he referred to me as Hurwitz. But I said, I'm Faked, commander. I'd rather, or sergeant. I'd rather if you refer to me as Jonathan. And he said, that's cool. So he did that. Ariel continues and says, what about time travel? Do you know any scripture relating to the topic? My past haunts me in ways. Oh, all of us, huh? Part of me kind of wants to eternal sunshine of the spotless mind it. Hard to stay positive. So either one of you, any one of you who have not seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, it's a Charlie Kaufman film. Jim Carrey is there, and many others. Charlie Kaufman, I'm a screenwriter, right, by trade. Charlie Kaufman is one of my favorite screenwriters. His movies touch me on such a deep, deep level, and I could gush about this for hours, but I won't. So it's basically, he says sometimes he wants to erase the past. Well, look, you can't erase the past, right? What did Rafiki tell Simba in The Lion King? He says, it doesn't matter, it's in the past, when he hits him with his stick. And he says, but it still hurts. And Rafiki says, yes, the past can hurt, but you can either grow from it and learn from it, right? Or you can make the same mistakes again. So it's up to us. The past is not changeable. And yet it is, and I'll tell you how. This is, again, Rav Kook in Orot HaTshuva, The Lights of Returning, of Repentance, which I had many videos on, which I lost as well. And he says that time and space, past, present, and future, all have to do with this world. But going in the path of the Most High, you are able to reach a sort of place from whence the past, present, and future originated. And there's a reason why Adonai is Haya Hoveh V'Yihiyeh, Yod Hei Vav Hei. It was, is, and will be. It's because this one root name encompasses all of it, which means that there is a time like before the Big Bang, right? Before time and space became a thing, and before the physical laws of nature came into existence, before the Big Bang, right, where God snapped his proverbial fingers, there was there was not a time. There was, not was. You know what I'm saying? We're here in this world, so I gotta say was. There was a time when past, present, and future, up, down, left, right, all of the elements, all of the chemicals, everything that is, was, and will be, was not yet in existence. Let's call that Adonai, right? Let's call that just regular divine revelation that is outside of creation. And you may wonder, then what is it revealed to? Precisely why creation was brought into existence. But I digress. When you reach that point of connection with the Most High, and with the Most High, right, with your own divine revelation, your own Tselem Elohim, you are able to transcend time and space, if you will. And so you arrive at a place where they are all one, and they are all everything, and they are all nothing. And in that place, not only is the past sort of non existent, all of your transgression, all of your sins, all of your misgivings and wrongdoings, all of your sins, all of the times you missed the mark, not only are they not transgressions, but you come to this understanding and you come to this way of life practically where you make those transgressions that were done with full knowledge, you turn them into righteousness because it's all one. Now, this is a very dangerous thing to say because a person could be mired in the mud of sin and transgression, completely missing the entire point of their lives and thinking that they're awesome and that everything's okay because Rav Kook said. No, it needs to be something where you constantly keep yourself in check. You're constantly running and returning, just like the angels, right? Just like the Chayot in Ezekiel. When Ezekiel in the first chapter, is it the first or second? First chapter. When the sky, the heavens opens up, the heavens open up and he sees the sights of God, Marot Elohim, he then sees, he says, V'hachayot ratzov ashov. The Sefer Yetzirah, attributed to Abraham, right, to our patriarch Abraham Avinu, he says this, and I'll give you the quick and dirty. Eser sfirot blima, 10 sfirot of without essence. Eser sfirot blima. Blom picha mileharer, stop your mouth from running. Velibcha mileharer, and your heart from pondering. And if your mouth starts running and your heart starts pondering, then return to the place. And he speaks there of a covenant. This idea of being able to go back and forth all the time, constantly returning, that's what the human being is. That's why we're always developing, as I started this with, right? We're always developing. That's why we're always making more tools, always creating. We're tinkering with everything in this world because we're trying to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Some people may not phrase it that way. I'm using this Sefer Yetzirah, Ezekiel sort of spin on it, but that's what it is. And so the past happened here in this life, in this world, in this body, with your psyche and your memory. But there is also a part of you that is above that. And I mean above because there is no up-down in the spiritual realm. But we conceptualize it as such. So take it with a grain of salt here, right? But you can do that eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. And it's very apt that that is named that, because you reach that place where there's eternal sunshine. And what does the prophet say? The prophet says that there will be no moon, there will be no sun. Adonai will be your light, right? In that spotless mind, that clear mind, that shift of consciousness where you are able to perceive in a very big way, which affects your very being, that tshuva, that returning to yourself, your true core self. And you constantly need to return. And tshuva, and with this, and then I'll move on. Tshuva is a twofold thing. On the one hand, it provides you with great solace and comfort because look at this path that you are embracing, this path of returning. On the other hand, because there is a great light that is shining down on you now, in the largest and greatest and brightest light, even the tiniest and most minute of blemishes is crystal clear. And because of that, on the one hand, there is solace and comfort and positive vibration. And on the other hand, you understand full well that there is always something more to do. What did Bob Marley say, right? I am a living man. I have work to do. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Whew. Ariel says, as I don't see how God can fix certain things. You are the one who needs to fix it. That's what I'm saying. It's that God that reveals itself through you. The only thing that God lacks, so to speak, is limitation. And you are completely limited, as we spoke earlier of the senses. And so you are revealing the infinite in the finite. You are revealing the divinity through this material, physical, you know, taking a crap on the. It's like we deal with blood and guts and crap and mucus and snot. We deal with the guts, right? And look how we come into this world covered in goo, all bloody from between the legs of a woman, like many other mammals, right? Who come into the world like that. But we're supposed to be this divine image, this image of God, this divine being higher than the angels, and yet we are also so animalistic in so many ways. And it's understanding that, embracing it, and fixing ourselves by our own definition, which says, clarify your definitions, discern between good and evil, know it. You ate from that tree of knowledge of good and evil, you might as well really know what that good and evil is. And it's sometimes very awful to understand just how good and just how evil you can be, you yourself. But it brings with it great freedom, because then you can discern for real. And I'm not saying that you need to go down a dark path. I'm saying that we all go down a dark path, whether we want it or not, by our own definition, once again. So have your definitions clear. Know where you are. Pirkei Avot in the Mishnah. Da me'ayin bata. Know where you came from. Ule'an ata holech. Know where you came from and where you're going. Ubifnei mi ata atid liten din v'cheshbon. Know where you come from, know where you're going, and know before whom you are about to give your, who are you reporting to after this life, so to speak. So let's see. I don't see how God can fix things. Would love to have spent more time with people in the past somehow. Now, you mean your actual practical physical past in this body, Ariel Marshall, or are you talking about incarnations of yourself right in the past? Because that's like up for debate, up for dispute, obviously. But if it's you and your life, without sounding too cliche, I'm going to say that even if everything I said right now is complete BS to you, look at the scripture, right? There was a time when our eyes were opened, and then there was a time when our eyes reopened when we ate from the tree of knowledge, a different sort of opening. And seeing as how I'm very much into the Eden thing, there's the eyes that are open now, and there's the eyes that were open in Eden. Two sort of different sets of eyes, if you will, two different modes of being, of consciousness, of awareness, of closeness, being more animal, being more divine, that whole thing. So I say look to Bereshit, I think, and talk to God. That's what I'm gonna say. And I know it didn't answer your question, but that's what I'm saying here right now. Having said that, said Ariel, if you can't interact with the past and measure it in any way, I guess it doesn't exist in a scientific sense. Right. If you're going with the, let's say, the phenomenologists, and if you're going with the scientists, and if you're going with the physicists, right, and the those who view the world as objects, right, and those who view the world as that which you can measure, then memory and consciousness itself, it's not exactly clear what purpose it serves. But if you seek to unify them and understand that you remember the past in order to do better in the future, that's a whole other ball game. You're not you're not reminded of certain things in order to dwell on them and ruminate and feel like crap about yourself. Maybe it starts off that way. But the end of that, right, the second half of that would be, and despite all of it, you have the power. So long as you draw breath, your job is not done. So get on with it, man. We each need to tell that to ourselves. Get on with it. Return. Always return. Have the solace and have the mourning, right? Mourn for your past and be comforted by it. Mourn for the possibilities, the awful, terrible possibilities of the future, and take solace in them, because you can still affect great change, because it isn't written yet. All right. Wow, let's see. Ariel says, anyway, got to head. Laters, guys, and many thanks. Now, there's a good chance that Ariel did not hear any of this. I hope maybe he rewatches it. But if not, then a quick, to Ariel, wherever you are, I hope that you're able to make peace with your past, embrace it, learn from it, and take it with you going forward, not in a ruminating, dwelling, oh my God sort of way, but in an oh my God sort of way. Hmm? Let's see. Happy chatting, he says. Yes, definitely happy chatting. Lisa says, wow, people started talking already. LOL, shalom, everyone. Shalom, shalom. Robert says to Lisa, how's Evansville? Um, and she says, not sure at the moment because I've moved from there. I'm in Illinois now. So yeah, she told me that she moved to a place with like a lot of Christians, and that she's hoping to find people. And so I'm hoping for that. I told her I hope that she finds like-minded people, people she can connect to, whether digitally or practically, physically, right? People who can support her, who can give her strength and courage, solace and comfort. Because it's difficult. It's difficult to move. Moving is one of the hardest things. My kids are still there, though, she says. Oh, that must be tough. That must be tough. Effingham. She's in Effingham, she says. The Nazarite cometh there, and this is where I joined. Oh my God. So check this, people. Check this. You're so awesome, you guys. For 46 minutes now, I've been talking about things that happened on Monday and things that happened before I arrived in this broadcast. I feel so blessed right now. So blessed that I get to, after 46 minutes, I get to start over and start from this chat. So let's dive right in here. Yodidiahu says, Shivat yamim matzot tochelu. For 7 days you will eat matzah. Ach bayom harishon tashbitu se'or. But on the first day you will set aside, or you will you will make rest the se'or. What is se'or? Oh, come on, yeast. No, not yeast from your homes. Ki kol ochel chametz, for whoever eats leavened food stuff should have karet, will be cut off. That soul or nefesh would be cut off from Israel from the first day till the seventh day. Shmot, Exodus 12:15. Can a soul be cut off for having chametz during Pesach? Well, okay. Can a soul be cut off? Now, the punishment of karet, which I've spoken of in the past, because somebody spoke to me about it, the punishment of karet is unique, not entirely unique, but it is unique in the sense that A, it's not doled out or given, right, or carried out by a physical court of elders or judges. It's carried out by shamayim, it says, by the heavens. And it's something that God, there's a revelation of God called shamayim, and that's the revelation where in part, it's a revelation of wrath and of anger. There's mercy there, but it comes sort of, it's funneled through kindness, and it's funneled through limitation, chesed and gvura, the left and the right, and they funnel through to the center, to the middle pillar, where we meet tiferet, also known as shamayim, and that is where karet comes from. So, I mean, I'm kind of, don't take my words as gospel, if you will, because while I am a student of the Tree of Life, I say these terms and I sort of blurt them out, but these are very deep things, and I may be doing you a great disservice just blurting them out. But I'm going to answer Yodidiao this way. It's part of my day-to-day life. I'm a student of the Tree of Life, and I try to live my life that way. So these are terms which I deal with on a regular basis, thank God. Now, Shamayim also generally means sky. It's a regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill Hebrew word. In the Tree of Life sense, Shamayim, which is Esh and Mayim, fire and water, left and right, come down to the center. And Shamayim is also represented by wind, right? Wind, the heaven. So let's continue. So, can a soul be cut off? Yes. What does that mean? That a soul is cut off? I don't know, and neither does anyone these days. We don't know what karet is. Karet is supposed to be for something which you did consciously, knowingly, knowing that it's wrong, and meaning to transgress. And it's also something where, again, there is no punishment which is carried out by a physical, earthly court. It's something where the divine revelation sort of judges you, if you will, and doles out the punishment. The Torah says, if you eat chametz on Pesach, if you eat leavened foodstuff on the Passover, you are cut off. But that's what it says. That's the plain text. And why do you think Yah gave such punishment for having bread during Pesach? Well, look, we are commanded not to eat leavened bread. Leavened bread is bread which rises. It has to do with things like pride and things like self-importance. When you are liberated from Egypt with such miracles and a strong, mighty hand, and the greatest empire on earth at the time being brought down to its knees, it is very, very probable and likely that you will go, "It's me! I'm better than everyone! Look what happened to the Egyptians! Look what happened at the sea! They all drowned and I walked through!" No. Humble yourself. Flatten yourself, because that's part of your true calling. And that exactly, that humility, flattening yourself and not making yourself greater, but keeping yourself flat, like the bread, like the matzah. That is exactly what will eventually bring you 50 days later to the mountain to be able to receive Torah. If you are not humble, if you are too proudful, because you do need to have 1/60th of pride, our sages say, just a touch of pride. But you need to have humility more than anything. Humility is the key to all good traits and all positive things. And so, why? Because the Torah says it, first of all. But conceptually speaking, Pesach is here in order to teach you that it's not you who made that happen, it's the Most High. And you need to submit to the will of God in order to receive that Torah in righteousness. Because if you receive that Torah while you are still so self important and proud, it can bring you to a very dark place. Very dark indeed. I think that's why. I think because during that time of Pesach, when it's a time when you're supposed to be um, because you could say, hey, look at that. It's named Passover because God passed the revelation of wrath, passed over the Israelites' homes while they were shut in eating their Passover lamb with the blood on the corner, on the posts of the house. Then God slaughtered, right, all of the firstborns. He killed them. And then later with the parting of the sea and all that. And there's such an opportunity here for you to make yourself greater and think that you deserve this and it's all because of you and it's your doing. It's like, no. Pesach is here to teach you that there's a great revelation here that is coming into existence. And you need to take full advantage of it. And it will not come from pride. It will not come from ego. It will not come from self importance. It comes from the precise opposite. You listen to the word of God, you slaughter the Passover lamb, you eat that flat bread for a week, you go to the temple, right, when there is a temple, because there's a difference between the Passover in Egypt and the Passover and every other Passover since. But again, I digress. Why gave such a punishment? I think that's why, but we'll see. Hard, my abs are killing, LOL, says Khalid. So yeah, Khalid came back from the gym, his abs are killing him. I really, really wish that your abs will heal, that your muscles will break through that outer exterior and grow larger and stronger. And just as you are working your physical muscles and developing them, may your spiritual muscles be developed as well. May you be able to elevate your consciousness. And I know that you're working precisely towards that, Khalid. From the dialogues that we've had here, I've come to understand to the degree that I can that you really are trying to walk that path, and I commend you for it. We may not have the same religion, but we are in many ways on that same path. And I remember the night that my channel was terminated. We had a dialogue with the open live stream. Khalid was here, right? He's a Muslim, Sufi-ish, or Sufi sort of Muslim. And there was myself, and there was a there was in India. Oh, come on. Oh, come on, come on, come on. What are they? There was a Sikh individual there as well, and a Christian and other Jews on the live stream. It was lovely. It was beautiful. We were gabbing. So I know that you are walking your path, and it's a great thing. And don't lose it. Don't lose it. Develop those spiritual muscles. Develop those physical muscles, and it's an amazing thing. The physical exercise facilitates spiritual labor as well. And when you make your body a vessel, right? And when you work on it, you're able to also work on your spirituality in a very different way. In a it's strength upon strength, and I love it. So good for you. Oral Torah got heated last vid. Yeah, it did, and good thing too, because we are here to talk about these things, and they ought to be talked about. Anyone learning Hebrew yet? Says Yodidiao. And Robert said hello. Khalid says Jacob as in Joseph's father. Yes, I was talking about Joseph's father. Shalom, Robert, says Yodidiao. in Hebrew. Khalid says, back then most things were oral and memorized, like poems, for example. Muslims sing the Quran. Yes, they do. They have their own melodies of the Quran, and they're very beautiful. I have many memories of traveling to different gigs. I used to be a lighting and sound technician, and I had so many gigs, like driving for out, not driving, in the passenger seat, and the driver, Wahib, had the Quran going sometimes, and the melody and the chanting is very, very. It's I can see how a Muslim and people who speak Arabic, I can see how it's a very elevating thing to chant the Quran, and we chant the Torah. That's what we do, right? Because again, we when we go up to the Torah with a scroll in the synagogue, or if you want to do it from the Chumash as well, and if you know the melody of your specific right Ashkenazi, Sfarad, Yemenite, whatever, then you have the melody. I was very, very happy, and I'm still happy. You have a melody for the Torah, you have a melody for the prophets, you have a melody for the scroll of Lamentations, you have a separate melody for the scroll of Ruth, for the scroll of Esther, for the Song of Songs, all kinds of different melodies and very intricate differences between them. It's lovely. Music is part of the human being, and that's manifested through Torah as well and through the Quran. So let's see. Robert says, if the oral Torah was from the Most High, the actual Torah would have mentioned it. You know what? I'm not going to say you're wrong because, I already spoke of it in the beginning. So I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I'm going to say that I believe that it does go hand in hand, despite it not mentioning it, much like the name Yod He Vav He is written one way but spoken another, and nowhere does it say that you're supposed to say it that way. It simply is handed down. And for those of us who study a bit more of the different names and the meanings and the relationships between them, then you can see precisely why that is. And once again, you can make the argument that no, 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 all of these other teachings were created retroactively simply to cover the ass of the rabbinic Judaism path. Maybe I wasn't around at the time. All I have is what I was handed down. And make no mistake, as you know, I also am critical of what I was handed down. I didn't just take it blindly and ran with it. I did for a time, but then in my early teens, I was like, no, 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 no. I got to go a lot deeper and understand where I come from and where I'm going. So yeah. Shalom, shalom, mishpacha, says little Andre. Hey, hey, Khalid is here again. Yes, yes. And Craig Lease is here. Hey, man, how you doing? Shalom, Yabi with you all. Adonai Yitchem, Yabi with you indeed. Little Andre says, there are different faiths here again tonight. Robert is Christian, I'm a Karaite, Khalid is a Muslim, and Jonathan is a cherry picker. Yes, I am. I cherry pick everything. I make no apologies. Oral Torah exists. Can't deny that, says Yodidiao. Robert says, Yeshua in the New Testament would say it is written. Okay, it is. Maybe you continue there. Do you eat cheeseburgers, little Andre? He says. Hey, Craig, my fellow South African. Khalid says, I don't think of myself as a different faith. I think of Islam as third generation of the Abrahamic faith as the reformers and the final message. So, right, the followers of Muhammad, right, call him the last and most holy of prophets, and they say that after him, that was the final one, and that he is sort of bringing to a culmination into a deeper understanding that which was already laid out in the teachings of Yeshua and in the teachings of Moses, right, of Musa Nabi, Nabi Musa, right, Moses the prophet, and that they are the third, let's say, iteration of the word of God. So how's it boot? How's it boot or boet? Okay, I'm not sure, says Craig. Oh, did I just... Oh, whoa, there's so much going here. Let's see. Where am I? Okay, there I am. It jumped here. Robert Harrison says, in the actual Torah, says, do not add, paraphrasing to God's word, lest you be found a liar. And the oral Torah definitely adds and subtracts. Right, that's an argument that many people make, but seeing as I was speaking of it before, I'm not going to go with it, but I am going to read through the chat. If there are things that I mentioned or sort of addressed earlier, I'm not going to address them again here after, an hour. Wow, it's been an hour. This is so much fun. I don't know how many of you people out there are content creators in whatever capacity you would choose to do it. If you are not, I urge you, if you are called to it, if you feel you have something to say, I urge you to do it, whether it's text, whether it's visual, whether it's interpretive dance, music, poetry, I don't know. But damn, it is so much fun to speak. It is so much fun to express oneself. It is so much fun to gather around you quite organically people like yourselves who you can have deep conversation with. And I thank you. I completely thank you. I am in awe of your dedication and your commitment, right, to staying with this channel with all of my blah blah blee blah blues, and to not only sort of bear all of my insufficiencies and things where I'm just "Bleh," but also make it even greater. And you make this channel so great, and I'm forever thankful for you guys, because what we do now, right? It's a pebble that we are throwing in the pond, and it echoes, right? And there are ripples that are going out into creation at this very moment because of what we are doing here. We're all part of a network, and you and I right here with our little group, we're part of this network, and what we do now has a great effect on people, even if we're not even aware of it. What we're doing now makes a great difference in the way that the world turns, or so I think. Let's see. In regards to faith, said Craig, I would probably categorize myself as closest to Nazarene, but still learning. Well, that's good. We should always be learning. Little Andre says, you, Jonathan, did not mention Craig is from South Africa. Well, I'm sure he told me, and it came into one ear and out the other, you know. As well, in one of your previous recent videos, from Durban to be precise, which reminds me a lot of Tel Aviv with big hotels at the beach and all. Well, that's nice. Yedidiah says to Robert, wouldn't translating Torah be manipulating and adding in a sense? Ah, good call. Torah should be read in the original Hebrew. That's a good call. Hey, S.C. Hall. Hey, man. Hey, Nazarene, Nazarite. He says, LOL, the Blood Moon video from earlier today, I thought it was the live stream video. Right, so I'm sure people who... So far, by the way, I have uploaded 90 videos in the last 2 or 3 days out of about 130. I will hopefully be able to do more after this live stream if I don't go to sleep. And worst case scenario, tomorrow and the next day, by the end of this week, there will be 130 videos from 2018 on this channel in a playlist that I, for now, temporarily at least, I called it partial archive, or I might call it from the vault. I don't know, but yeah, 130 videos, 90 down, about 40 more to go. So yeah, I can understand why you made that mistake. Now you can tell the difference because these are numbered. These are numbered from 00 to 90 so far. 00, by the way, the video that starts with 00 is the trailer for my old channel, and it says that I'm a field medic. But last year I was discharged from the service after almost 20 years of mandatory and reserve duty, and so I am no longer a field medic. And I hope that I won't have to volunteer should something happen and things will hit the fan. I would want to volunteer. So let's hope that there is peace and prosperity in the region, in all the world, and that I will not have to be called back again or volunteer again or anything like that. Well, they won't call me back. I'd have to volunteer, but I am not a field medic anymore. But I was for a while, so that trailer still, is still true. At the time, I still was. Robert Harrison, have you heard the New Testament manuscripts like Mark added verses at the end? Ooh, that's interesting. Well, Craig says, I dream to visit Israel, looking for a way to learn Hebrew. It's tough trying to learn alone. Oh my God, yes. It really, really is tough. It really is tough. There was James Larisha, right? James Larisha, who I was in contact with for a couple of years, and I would frequent his channel, he would frequent this channel, right? The self-proclaimed radical Torah supremacist. We kind of lost contact because I felt that if we continued the dialogue, we left on friendly terms. We didn't sort of say we're done. It kind of tapered off. But I think that if he and I would have continued, it would have gone to a bad place. Because while there are things that we agree on, I found that there is a lot more that we disagree on. And I didn't want to become his enemy, or I didn't want him to perceive me as an enemy, because even though I disagree with him on many things and he disagrees with me on many things, it doesn't mean that we have to be, there's no animosity there. And so he was incarcerated, and for a few years, and that's where he learned Hebrew, and that's where he started his conversion process. I wonder if he ever completed it, because at the time he was still going through the process. Because he's such a radical man, and he is rather radical, a radical Torah supremacist, as he called himself. He was having trouble converting. So I hope that maybe he found a place that did convert him. Uh, but he would say that, yeah, it's tough to learn Hebrew, but you gotta do it. You can't study the Torah without learning Hebrew. He would say what you said, but he had, he was locked up. He was incarcerated, which gave him all of the time, a few years, to just dive right into the Torah, right into learning Hebrew, and he pulled it off. An amazing feat. He pulled it off because he had the time. I have no idea how people who, have a different life, a day job, a family, I don't know what could do it, but there is no limit to what we can do. We do not know the upper limits to what it is that we are capable of, for better and for worse. So if you want to learn Hebrew, I hope that life rearranges itself in the best possible way to make it possible for you and anyone else who wants to learn Hebrew, that you will be able to do it, and that you'll be able to do it in a way which is conducive to the positive vibration and the divinity that is in the Hebrew, the holy tongue, Lashon HaKodesh. If you dream to visit Israel, I hope that the dream comes true. I really do. Khalid Ben Walid says, wait. Where was I? Yes. Yodidiao says, I don't eat burgers or rarely dairy products, says little Andre. Identify as a Nazarite Muslim warrior. That's Khalid. Wow, a Nazarite Muslim warrior. Now, I had a friend, and I may have mentioned this. We met we met pretty much on the street. He walked up to me, and he said, "You look to me like the archetypal Israelite warrior." That's what he told me. I considered it to be a great honor to be called that by him. I considered it an honor right then and there. See, when about an hour has gone by and my voice is starting to crack, I'm gonna keep going. Screw my voice. There's Torah. I'll use my voice. I'll go hoarse this evening, people. Learning with you. I will go hoarse. I will wake up and I'll have to talk like this because I'll have no voice because I want to keep learning. So let's keep learning. I later on, as I got to know him, as we formed a very deep friendship, I he called me the archetypal Israelite warrior. I was like, whoa, man. That's kind of what I'm trying to be, the warrior in the best possible way. So yeah, a Nazarite Muslim warrior is a wonderful way to identify and to conceptualize yourself. I dig that. I dig it. And not in a militant sort of way, but in the way for fighting for your righteousness, right? Going for it, despite all of your weaknesses and places where you screw up royally, to go for it, to fight. Fight. This is not to say that life is a struggle and a battle and blah, 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 but sometimes it is. And to know, to harness that power. I see what you're talking about, man. Robert Harrison says, Little Andre, I see you have 4 subscribers. Craig Lace, ask for help from Hashamayim. Yeah, right, Hashamayim, again, ask for help from the heavens. And there's something that's written on top of different things, like notes or visual representations of different things. People write Besiata Dishmaya, which is Aramaic for with the help of the heavens, usually abbreviated as Bet Samech Dalet or Basad. Little Andre says, but I know what you're getting at, of course, and I might leave it in the comments where we can flesh it out. By all means, flesh things out in the comments. That's what they're there for. Little Andre says, Craig, you mean you're a Nazarene as in a believer in Yeshua in a Jewish way, right? Craig responds to Yodidiahu, is that a person or an online site? So right, Hashamayim is a nickname for revelation of God, right? For God's revelation. Little Andre says, the Nazarenes did not believe in any Roman Catholic doctrines, but I'll get into that in the comments as well later where I can elaborate. Okay, cool, I hope you do. Craig says, Little Andrew, correct. Robert says, Yeshua addresses the oral Torah in Matthew 15, 3-6, King James Version. Hang on, I got to take a swig of water here. Can I get an amen? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, she'akol niyeh bidbaro. Now this blessing, right, before you drink something and other things, it was instituted by our sages. And it's interesting because it refers to God in a few ways, Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, and this particular one, over liquids that are not wine, something like water, שהכל נהיה בדברו, נהיה is that which comes into existence now, in the present tense. A lot of people say nihya in the past, and that is also correct. But I say nihye. It's not very common, but I've heard other people do it as well. The blessing, which is, blessed art thou, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, that everything was made through your speech, or everything is, shakol nihye, that everything is made in your speech, bidvaro. God spoke things into existence. We speak things into existence. And when you take an element like water and you sanctify it and you bless it, and before nourishing your physical body, you take a few seconds to give thanks and praise to the Most High and connect that Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, which is the right, left, and center, then you center yourself, and the water that comes into your body, it may come into your body just like anyone else who drinks water, but the spiritual, let's say, effect that it has on you and the way that it fortifies you spiritually changes. Or that's how I view the different blessings. It's also why with food and nourishment, many times there's a blessing before and after, corresponding or depending on how much of it you actually took in, different measurements. Again, going back to halakha. Amazing, amazing. So let's see. Little Andre says to Khalid, I know that's what Muslims believe today about Islam being Abrahamic, but I don't think it's accurate. Okay. S.E. Hall says, I've always said a true skeptic is skeptical even of skepticism itself. Yeah, I agree. I do. I definitely agree. You need to know when to go blindly all in on something, providing that you had already discerned and that you've already known something, then you can go all in. If your discernment and if your knowledge, it hasn't been too pathologized, and you're able to see things the way that they are as far as you can see them, and you think to yourself, this is something true, right? Then you can go blindly all in, and it won't be you not being skeptical. But yeah, being skeptical of skepticism itself is a great thing as well, I believe. Yeah, for sure. Little Andre says to Craig, there's a typical South African English slang for you. Oh, there's a typical, I'm not sure what the inflection is. There's the typical South African English slang for you. I think that's how he meant to say it. A Muslim Nazarite. Cool, says Robert. Craig at least gives the old emoji. By the way, says Little Andre, for those who don't know, Boet, means like brother or friend in South African. Oh, okay. Man, I love dogs, says S.E. Hall. They always make me smile. Well, yeah, here, take some more of Pinky right there. She's burrowing. Hey, Pinky Lou. Okay. Pinky Lou. Let's continue here. Yodidiao says, I got a good recording with Tovia Singer this morning, stumped him, and him scrambling his numbers. Oh, really? That's what you sent me in the DM. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will. I haven't never really listened to Tovia Singer, so maybe I should, but I'll definitely listen to that DM that you sent me with the audio bit. Little Andre, says Robert, and Yodidiao, Robert says to Little Andre and Yodidiao, I've been going back and forth with people on the Torah channel. Okay. Little Andre says, Khalid, wait, you identify as a Nazarite? How does that work in Islam, though? There's no mention of the Nazarite vow in Islam. I've read the whole Quran once and know somewhat about Islam. V, oh my God, V, hi there. Shalom, was wondering where you disappeared. So yeah, I disappeared, but I didn't disappear. I was back on with my new channel a day after I was kicked off the old channel. My channel was terminated. I lamented it for a day. I tried to get it back for a day, and then I just kept on going with this new channel. So here it is. I've been broadcasting ever since, and so that's what I've been doing. Robert says, who has hit the like button? Again, look at that. So I have right now, it says I have 7 people watching and 7 likes. And so the number 7 is very, very, well, let's continue. I did, Robert, says Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. By the way, how's Pinky doing tonight? Oh, she's doing pretty good. Ruff, 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 ruff. I love petting that little thing. God, I'm gonna be sad when she dies. Such a little creature. All right, let's see. S.E. Hall, Yod Hei Vav Hei is your life. Okay, and the Torah, right? The Torah v'mitzvot, the Torah and commandments. Ki hu chayecha ve'orech yamecha. It is your life and your long days. That's what it is, man. Is she an English lady or an Ivrita señorita? Mrs. Pinky Hurwitz, that is. Well, Pinky is neither one of them. She's more of a Pinky Winky. Know what I mean? She's a stinky Pinky Winky. Hello. How you doing, girl? Different girl. Woman. Animals make me smile too, says little Andre to Seth. Nazarite, are you in Alabama or Texas? No, I think he's somewhere else. I think he's traveling. I'm not sure where he is right now, but he was traveling for a while. Yadidiel says to Robert, have you donated to Ariel yet or got his book? Andre said to Seth, the Torah is your life, Deuteronomy. That's right. The Torah is the way, the truth, and the life. Psalms, Deuteronomy, says little Andre. Rest in peace, Jewish Bob Saget. Yeah, Bob Saget left us. I don't know how many of you know him from his Full House days. I don't know how many know him from his stand-up. But yeah, he was quite a character. Little Andre, where are you from? So he's from South Africa. I'm pretty sure he mentioned that. S.E. Hall says, Robert, my man, I'm currently in Mississippi for the time being, but I'm ultimately heading to Texas by foot. So yeah, you're on a pilgrimage of sorts, man. S.E. Hall, the Nazarite, is on a pilgrimage. And S.E. Hall is going through some difficult times, I think. I mean, I didn't get his permission to speak of it, and so I won't. But he's he's walking. He's really making an effort to walk with God, quite literally. It's an amazing thing, I think. And I sometimes forget that. You know, we have our things in the DMs and on Facebook and over here, and I sometimes remember that this dude, S.E. Hall, the Nazarite, he's had a difficult background and he's in the middle of difficult times right now. And he keeps on walking. And no matter what religion, no matter whatever, I can't help but admire that. Your perseverance, S.E. Hall, your commitment to God is admirable. Good for you. Good for you. My God. I'm sure that you will reap the benefits and the rewards of what you're doing now. Yeshua or not, or no Yeshua, makes no difference to me. I think that what you're doing and what you are striving for, many of you out there in the chat, right, is amazing. Just amazing. Heading to Texas on foot. Robert says, old things pass away. Behold, all things become new. Interesting. Is that, I'm guessing if it was a quote, you would have put it in quotations and given the source. So I'm just going to say that in Kohelet, right, Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, he says that there's nothing new under the sun. And there's a video called Nothing New Under the Sun, one of my old videos, which I managed to save, which I uploaded today. And nothing new under the sun. The sun, again, corresponds with the heavens, with the sky, with a certain revelation. But there is a revelation that supersedes it and that is above it, from whence it comes. And when Kohelet says there's nothing new under the sun, and that nothing is really, really new, and that everything is of old, it's like, yeah, if you're talking about that which is under the sun, where there's past, present, and future, old and new, you're absolutely right. We must transcend that. We have the capacity and the potential to go beyond the sun, right? To have God be our light, as the prophet says. So yeah, old things pass away. Behold, all things become new. I agree. Very much, very much. S.E. Hall said, I didn't even realize Bob Saget was Jewish. Yeah, man, I'm sure. Wait. What was that? Oh, okay. Robert says, wow, brother. So yeah, I'm sorry. He was responding to S.E. Hall, I'm sure. By the way, says Alandre, I feel like super Nazarite after watching all the videos Jonathan uploaded today. Hey man, I think you're a pretty super Nazarite as it is, seeing that that's what you're going for. Again, what you're striving towards and that path that you're walking with, which is difficult by every standard almost, because sure, there will always be people who have it more difficult than you. But it's like, what is it that you're doing with the tools that you're given? What is it that you are doing with the cards that you were dealt? And people like you, and others here in the chat, others in the channel, who are really striving to live that Torah life, to live that life of walking before God, I pray and I bless you that your path unfolds before you and that you're able to perceive it, to discern, to know where you're going, and to go with it. It's difficult. It's a difficult path no matter what you do. But Isaiah, if you feel like super Nazarite, good for you, man. I'm happy that I help you feel that way. I hope that I'm not leading people astray. Because what the hell do I know? You people shouldn't be listening to anything that I'm saying or taking it as like gospel or something that's 100% true or some absolute. I don't have a great wisdom. I'm not this purveyor of great truth. Most of what I'm saying is probably regurgitated, but I am striving to clean myself of all of those things and of my own inadequacies and my own insufficiencies and speak some modicum of truth and provide you with some value. So I hope that you all become more than you already are. And that's what it is, to supersede, right? To become more than you are. I hope that you're all able to do that, inshallah. Andre, Deuteronomy, says S.C. Hall, 30:20, Adonai is your life. And Moses tells the children of Israel, this Torah, these commandments, that is your wisdom, that is your knowledge. When you go into the land of Canaan and the people, and you conquer it and you take it over, if you walk that path, nobody will oppose you and nobody will come against you, because they will understand by looking at you and seeing your way of life. They will understand, oh, these people are a great nation who have a lot of chutzpah and who have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. So we would do well to let them do their thing, because they can bring great things into existence that will benefit not only them but those around them as well. That's how I see it. And that may be a bit egocentric and, blah, 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 and like chosen one sort of things. But we earn, we are meant to earn and re earn that title of chosen people. It's not something that you slap on the Israelite and that's it. I think the Israelite and the Israelite nation, the Hebrew nation, we're not meant to be the chosen ones, God's chosen ones, in order to like lord it over others and feel superior. No, we are meant to earn it again and again, every single day, with the way that we conduct ourselves in the world. And should we not be living that life, then God will choose us for something else, like exile and destruction. Much like we were chosen, and Moses says this very thing. Just like God chose you to be elevated, he can choose to smack you down. And when you will get smacked down, you'll have to search your own soul and see where you went wrong and climb that mountain back up. That's what we do, right? The Israelite, the Hebrew man, the Hebrew woman, we are running. We're always running back and forth to where we ought to be. We never, and some would say, so you never get anywhere, but no, 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 no. It may not be A to B, but it's A, B, C, D, B, 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 B. It's an ever, always going higher, always going higher. I hope. I didn't know that I had 4 subscribers. He says, little Andre. Robert, Robert, I do need to document it. So yeah, Robert said that S.E. Hall should document his journey. Oh wait, I missed it. Oh, he says, Nazarite, document your journey. I always made it a point to watch your vids. Yeah, I watched your videos as well. We spoke a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, and I asked you if you're still making videos. You said that you hadn't in a while. Maybe you should. There are people who would watch them. I count myself among them, even if not every single one. Again, if you have something to say it. I know you do it on Facebook already. I'm not saying you could bite off more than you can chew, but there are people who would watch your videos, man. So let's see. Robert, I do need to document it. I just got to get motivated on these vids again. I've been more into writing again as of late. Yeah, on Facebook. He writes a ton. He writes a ton. S.E. Hall writes a lot every single day, pretty much, on his philosophy, on his way of viewing the walk before God, on Christianity, Judaism. We've had a few back and forths about the nature of the tree of life, and a bit of Kabbalistic talk there, even though I'm not a Kabbalist, right? Andre, yes, says S.E. Hall. That's why many Messianic Bibles translate, and the Torah was made flesh. Amen, says Robert. I'm coming up on an hour and a half now, almost. Whew. Little Andre says, maybe I just said that by the way so I can spew the thoughts in my head, but I've really felt as if my reflexes have become better since I've been a Nazarite. So I'm not Spider-Man who were bitten by... What? I am not Spider-Man who were bitten by a spider, but by a Nazarite, but by the Nazarite vow. And when you are enthusiastic about something, we call it whatever you're into, a bug. Right, what bug has bitten you? in my culture or language. So I'm Nazarite man. I hear you. To be bitten by the bug of the Nazarite ship is a great thing. I agree. I agree. It's why it's a vow, because it's something that you go with, whether it's for 30 days or a lifetime. It's something that you say, no, I'm gonna commit. I was bitten by a bug and I will commit. Robert says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So, right, that's the book of John, if I'm not mistaken, right? S.C. Hall says, Andre, what I meant by Adonai is your life was confirming Yonathan's comment about God within. Mm-hmm. Yedidiah says to Robert, Kvod Elohim aster davar, Kvod melachim chakor davar, which is from Mishlei, if I'm not mistaken, Proverbs, where he says the glory of God, you should hide parts of the glory of God, and the glory of kings you should investigate. So you hide the glory of God and you investigate the glory of kings. Robert says, I know I'd love to hear about someone traveling to Texas on foot, especially a man of God. Yedidiah says to Robert, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that in the wrong way. It's not that the glory of God for us to do. Right, it's the glory of God is to hide things, and the glory of kings is to explore or investigate things, to reveal. Now, what I said, this must be like the English translation. This idea of kvod Elohim and kvod melachim, both of which are plural, Elohim and melachim. The word davar. Well, there's a lot here. There's a lot here, but the glory of God is manifested through that which is hidden, and the glory of kings is manifested in that which, right, in how you can scrutinize them. So it's not exactly that translation, but there's, how shall I put it? No, you know what? I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Jonathan says, little Andre, please read my comment as you've done in the past so it will make sense. So yeah, I think I did. If you're talking about the comment you just made right now, obviously it was probably a long time ago. Robert says to Yodidiyahu, oh, wait, there's nothing there. Little Andre says, but I've also really wanted to tell people that they should never take the Nazarite vow for its benefits, but for Elohim. Right, I understand that. Look, Maimonides, Rambam, in his Laws of the Nazarite ship, the last law, the last halacha is a person who takes on the Nazarite vow for his own glory, and in order to make himself like bigger and be called Nazarite or whatnot, that's like false, wicked Nazarite-ship. But a person who does it in a way that is sacred and holy, that is a Nazarite-ship that is sort of meant to be. And it's and that's the type of Nazarite-ship that Amos equated in the same, or maybe not actually equated, but Amos, the prophet, he says that the children of Israel had Nazarites and prophets, and he puts them in the same verse, sort of on the same level in that verse, and he said they have different roles, but it's kind of on the same level in that verse, and that the children of Israel kind of went against them both by telling the Nazarites, forcing the Nazarites to drink wine, or making the Nazarites drink wine, and telling the prophets not to prophesy. Let's see. So yeah, doing it not for the benefits, but for Elohim. Look, I know that I tell people, if you feel called to the Nazarite vow, you should investigate it, and if you want, eventually go for it. But you shouldn't do it lightly. Probably should not do it on a whim. If you keep halacha. If you keep halacha, it means you do it for life. These days, without a temple, it's for life. So if you're a man of halacha and you're an Orthodox Hebrew man, you should not do it on a whim, unless you feel called to do it right then on a whim, in which case that's your business. But you should take the time and understand why it is that you want to do it. If you're called to it, answer that call first without the vow, at least for a time. Figure it out for yourself. Again, discern. Have that knowledge of what's good, what's evil, where you could be, where you couldn't be, and then go for it. Definitely go for it if you're feeling called to the Nazarite vow. As for people who don't keep halacha or who aren't Jewish, are not bound by Torah and commandments and the covenant, and who want to take it, as I've said before, You may not be actual technical Nazarites because the Nazariteship was not given to the nations, but for Israel. So you may not be technically a Nazarite, but it's a technicality, and nobody's asking you to bring a sacrifice because you're of the nations and a Gentile. So you should be able to go for it if you want to follow the Torah. Something like that. Little Andre says to Seth, oh, I see. Okay. Lisa says, it's okay. My kids are all grown, 30, 20, and 19. However, we have iPhones and can FaceTime at any time. It's really the only way we call each other anymore. Oh, well, I see, obviously, with Rona. Well, good. At least you're not like leaving kids that are kids behind. They will always be your kids. You'll always be their mama bear. But I'm glad that they are older, and of age, let's say. But Elijah says to Lisa, I missed your earlier comment. South Africa, born in Cape Town and raised on a farm. Very cool. Lisa, oh, that's right. We had that conversation of me liking the Lady Smith group. The only Zulu language I learned from the song Babawatu. Okay. Yutidiao says to Little Andre, how long is a Nazarite vow? S.E. Hall says to Little Andre, that's a very important verse to me, right? The one that he mentioned earlier. It was the random verse I got the last time I did my DOC. What's DOC? I probably knew at some point, but I don't know now. I felt like that was my last chance warning. I'm not sure what DOC means. Oh, wow, there's so much more to go here in the chat. I am so thankful. I'm so blessed. Toda leya, toda lachem. Thank you. Lisa, Lady Blacksmith Mambazo. Yes, I remember. Yodidia, as long as she decides. Right, that's his Nazarite vow, as long as you decide. Robert says, 100% agree with the Levite. It was there to cover the rabbi's path. Seth, what does DOC mean? Says Little Andre, right? Or stand for, and what do you mean by it was your last warning? Sorry for my ignorance. Andre says to Little, Yodidiao said to Little Andre, what happens after the vow is complete? Shave the head? Robert says, cough, cough, Nazarite. Little Andre said to Lisa, you know more Zulu than you think, especially if you watched Lion King. Yes, of course, Hakuna Matata and all that. And Mufasa, right, is also, it's king, if I'm not mistaken, right? Lisa Freyne said, yeah, I read they are the original writers for the Lion King song, which I love too. Oh, right, all the songs, of course. Right. Craig, wait, S.E. Hall said, oh, sorry, Andre, it means drug of choice. Oh, drug of choice. I felt like God was telling me through that random verse that I could either choose life or death because I think it had fentanyl in it. Okay. Craig, keep striving in the Nazarene path, bro. See, S.E. Hall, who is with like some dire circumstances sometimes, and I'm sure it's very difficult, he takes the time out of his day to strengthen and embolden the hands of others who are trying to walk that path. And that's such an amazing thing. Such an amazing thing. Now, obviously, you shouldn't care so much for others that you forsake yourself. But I read something like this, that he tells him to keep striving and he's trying to make him strong. In the strength we give others, we are strengthened ourselves. And it says in the Gemara, I think it's the Gemara, that if you are in need of something and someone else, like a friend or someone else, is in need of the same thing, right? And you pray for them to have it, you will be the one to get it first. Now, even though this may not play out practically, it means that you get that which you give, plainly. And so I will pay it right back, pay it forward and right back to you, S.E. Hall. You took the time out to type that out to Craig and to embolden him and to strengthen him, and I want to strengthen you and embolden you as I did before, because Nazarene or no, Christian or no, follower of Yeshua or no, you're trying to walk that path, and it is difficult, and it is sometimes, oh my God, such struggle, such strife, but you don't give up. And that's amazing. And I'm sure that I could learn a lot from what you're doing, my man. Let me tell you. By the way, Jonathan, you've said here, Little Andre says, by the way, you've said you're here to serve us, I think. I'm here to serve you as a speaker. I'm here to serve you as somebody who is trying to provide value, most definitely. but I really feel like I'm here to serve you. Well, yeah, it's a what's it called? It's a symbiotic, I guess, right? We get and we give, right? We give and take from each other, and we feed off each other's energies and vibes and words. That's no small thing. That's an amazing thing, you know? Little Andre said to Yodidiau, shave the head and drink wine when there's a temple. Yes. Ah, okay, so he means when there's a temple. So it's not precisely when he chooses. I think that Yodidiau was trying to understand when it is that you think it will be done. So little Andre says it will be done when there's a temple. Yeah, I'm sure there are many Nazarites I'm sure there are many Nazarites out there who will fulfill their vow at the establishment and dedication of the temple. I'm sure there are many Nazarites who did that, and it's written in the book of Maccabees, if I'm not mistaken. There were some Nazarites who were waiting for the temple to be either rededicated or first revisited by the Hashmonaim, the king of the priests, right? The Maccabees of Hashmonai, and that's where they fulfilled their vows. Because until that time, the days had run their course, but they were still under the vow because they could not complete it de facto with the offerings. So yeah, I hear you. S.E. Hall says, yes, it's a debate whether some of the last verses of Mark were added by a scribe. Right, so the scribes, the Sofrim as they are known, this is another debate and dispute that's going on in the Hebrew world. How many things were added by the scribes? Because we know that certain things were added by the scribes. Now, you could make the very valid and sound argument that that which was added to the written scroll, to the actual written scroll, not a commentary, not an interpretation, actual scroll that we know nowadays, we know that there have been things that were added, certain letters that are reversed, certain dots which appear over certain letters, certain words, different things which are written one way and spoken another, or the other way around. And we know that these are scribes that did it, but it all serves a higher path. It all connects back to the tree of life. It all connects back to the relationship between the different words, between the different letters, what is spoken and what is looked at, right? What is thought and what is uttered. There's a lot there, right? Your mind, your heart, your mouth. There's tons of things there. So even if there is a kind of debate over what was added and how could you change things, it's like, yeah, but now I'm at a place and a point in time when things were changed. So all I can do is deal with it and understand where does it meet me? Where am I? And all of this mishmash of tradition, censorship, warping the old path, oral Torah, written Torah, interpretations, all commentaries, all of that. And I'm just one simple dumbass in Israel trying to find his way. Drink water, he says. So yeah, I did. Oh well, I guess this means I have so much more to go. If I am only arriving now at the place where he said drink water, which presumably 37 minutes ago or almost 40 minutes ago, where I said that I'm starting to feel like my voice is cracking, then oh my god, I have so much more to go. But I think that I'm gonna go tonight up to 2 hours, and no more, because I need to get to bed. It's a work night. I gotta work tomorrow. Places to go, people to kill. No, I like saying that, but I'm not gonna kill. I don't plan on killing anyone. Places to go, things to do, videos to upload. Wait, Craig is a Nazarite too? No, I think he said Nazarene, says S.E. Hall. Not Nazarite, unless he said Nazarite as well. No, I think he said Nazarene. I wonder why Robert's comment was retracted, said S.E. Hall. He typed Nazarene. So yeah. Amen, says Robert. Amen, let there be light. And there was light, says little Andre. Robert Harrison said that dude HN was talking about, radical Torah supremacist, hated messianics and followers of the New Testament. Yes, he had a great deal of ill disposition towards, and no short supply of animosity towards, messianics and followers of the New Testament. Now, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth him. So, but he did, and him and I didn't see eye to eye on certain things either. But I already said that back then, so I'm not going to repeat it. But yeah, James Larisha, look, there is a ton that I can learn from people like James, who go all in, who decide I have seen the light, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to sweep it under the rug. There is this great thing that has been presented before me, and I'm going to make use of my time and dedicate my life in order to walking that path, following that way, listening to the sages, listening to halacha, binding myself in order to be liberated in a deeper sense. And I can appreciate that even if I disagree with him on plenty of things. Little Andre says to Kevin, "Oh, amen. Oh, Kevin is here. Hi, Kevin. I thought it was S.E. Hall that said, 'Let there be light.' My mistake. It was a Kevin. So good for you. Hello, Kevin. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. When Elohim spoke, it came to be." Little Andre says, "Sorry, Elohim spoke everything into being just as he did when he said, 'Let there be light.'" Ah, okay. S.E. Hall says, "Never heard of a Muslim Nazarite before." Right, so before Khalid, I knew of the Sufis, of course, but I never met anyone who would define himself as a Muslim Nazarite. Then again, I haven't had these discussions with Muslims. So, S.E. Hall says, "Thank you for," whoa, whoops, I gotta, oh, okay. So S.E. Hall gives thanks, and I give thanks to you people out there for engaging and for staying and for listening and for providing me with everything that you do. Craig says, "I do have dreads, but not a Nazarite. I agree closest with Nazarene understanding and halacha, but I question a lot and struggle to identify myself as a specific." Does he continue later? As a specific, no, okay, so as a specific something. "We love Pinky Hurwitz," as Robert. Little Andre says, everything was created through a word speech, not through a person. Right, but we get to manifest that. That's what's amazing about human beings. Amen, little Andre. Ehiyah, says Kevin. "I will be what I will be. That which I am, that which I am." S.A. Hall, "I will say the Nazarite vow causes you to feel much closer to Judaism." Yeah, I can see how that is. I can definitely see how that is, for sure. Uh, Seth says, I'm sorry. Little Andre says, "Yep, me neither." He says to Seth, Nazarite, we are here for you." Yep, for sure. "Stinky Pinky Winky, LOL." Robert Harrison says he's a strong dude. Yeah, he seems to be a strong dude. S.E. Hall, the Nazarene, yep. Little Andre says, "By the way, the Yonatan is a cherry picker thing is something I wanted to mention yours already." Well, I mentioned it plenty of times, but I guess you had a specific context in which you wanted to mention it. "Thank you, brother," says S.E. Hall. "Thanks, Hebrew Nazarite. Praise be to God." Indeed, praise be to God. "Robert, I love Pinky," says little Andre. S.E. Hall asks, "Wasn't Elijah both a prophet and a Nazarite?" Right. So he was a prophet, and there is an allusion to him being a Nazarite, because when the king sends messengers, then the messenger comes back and he says that it was Ahav, right, Ahab, the king of Israel, and he says that, "I met a man, right, that he was full of hair." So they say that he may have been a Nazarite, and there is also a claim that he was a priest. So Elijah had several covenants going on there, right? Elijah the prophet, Elijah the priest, Elijah the Nazarite, and he is present in covenants of circumcision for different reasons that I won't get into, but there is a video which I uploaded today called Elijah's Ascent, The Covenant Never Dies, something like that, which I again recorded 3.5 years ago, and I'm so very happy that I have it and to upload it here again. Robert says he's going for the 3-hour mark. DOC is Department of Correction, says Lisa Freyne. That's true. It's also that. Robert says, Nazarite, why Texas, bro? It's a cool state, but why? Haha. Lisa Freyne says, DOC, oh, I was thinking Department of Corrections, because when people are incarcerated, they get DOC numbers. Many different things DOC means, just depends on how it's used in a sentence, right? Different acronyms, it all depends on how you use it. Craig Lease had a message retracted. Okay, gonna plow right ahead here. I agree, says S.E. Hall. I've always said, if something was added, it simply means God may have inspired the scribe to out something the original human did not speak that God originally wanted him to speak. Right, something which was not meant to be spoken but written, or something which was not meant to be written but spoken. That's why both of them were handed down, because, well, again, they go hand in hand as I see it. I thought DOC as in documentary, says Craig. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I understood it was DOC and not documentary, but I didn't know what the DOC was. Craig Lee says to everyone, all who are here, would love would love to check out all of your channels if you're making vids. Please post links. Always looking for others to learn with. SEL says the Nazarene says Lisa, LOL. I should have clarified the first time. Yeah, maybe. Craig says, whoops, belch. Would be so cool to do a live chat with you all. Maybe a Zoom meeting discussion for learning. Right. So Lisa and Oregon Freebird, Karen, I think, I mean, I don't know if Lisa is still here because I'm like reading retroactively. Lisa and Karen have a group, or it may just be the both of them. They have a Skype. Is it Skype? Is it Zoom? It's Zoom. Lisa and Karen, a few weeks ago, or a couple of months ago already, started a Zoom meeting of people who frequent this channel who want to have a discussion. So by all means, man, get in touch with Karen, Oregon Freebird, or with Lisa Freyne, and ask her if you could be part of that meeting, because if it's still going on. Lisa says, speaking of which, Lisa says, I'm okay. It's late because I'm not reading a lot of comments because I'm still at work and have to use my fingers to type on the computer, LOL. She continues and says, I have videos of plants and family funnies, but I haven't uploaded in a while. Oh, and look, Karen is right here. Oregon Freebird says, Lisa, same. Old videos from kids from before Facebook hosted their own, so super old. Let's see. Meant to say put, says Essie Hall, and I'm at the end of the chat. Hey guys, I've caught up with you. Hi. Hello there. Almost at the 2-hour mark, so I think I'll call it a day. Oregon Freebird says, I haven't done the Zoom in a while, but it would be fun to discuss with someone. So yeah, hey, you have someone else who wants to join. Now, I popped in, I think you do it on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And for me, it's Saturday night. For you, I think it's mid-Saturday, or maybe it's Sunday. I don't recall, but for me, it's like late at night. So I popped in, I think during the second discussion, I popped in for a few minutes to say hi and see how it was going, but then I had to leave, and I haven't popped in since. But I do know that you wanted to do this. So people out there, if you're out there and you want to have a live broadcast yourselves and talk as a group and discern and reason, as the Rastafari say, right? And get that truth out there as you see it and sharpen your iron with iron, then go for it. And turn to Lisa, turn to Oregon Freebird here, ask them if they are interested in forming that group. I love the idea of a group branching out from this group. Again, we're a network, man, and it's growing. And I don't have any delusions or illusions of grandeur by any means. It can remain small and intimate here until my last breath. But still, in its little way, this channel is growing, and I am ever grateful and ever thankful for the opportunity, the possibility to see it grow. It's a beautiful thing. The day is negotiable, says Oregon Freebird, with so many different time zones. Yeah, I hear ya. Okay, wow. I'm gonna say goodbye. Almost, well, what time is it? It must be late. What time is it? It's 11:48 p.m. here in Jerusalem. It's almost midnight. Ay, ay, ay. A fine time to say goodnight. Wait, yeah, Zoom, says Lisa. We haven't done it in a while. I do miss it. So yeah, go for it, good people. If you're not going to do it in the chat because I'm about to sign off, leave it in the comments of this video, because I think once I sign off, the comments can be opened up. So leave it in the comments, or do it now while I'm talking. After I press end stream, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes before I go away from the screen, so you could maybe do it there. And thank you. I appreciate the ever-living crap out of each and every one of you. It's so wonderful to be able to do this on a regular basis. If you want to know what I was doing back in 2018, check out the playlist which I made today called Partial Archive. It has 90 out of 130 videos that I found from 2018 that were erased and that I will upload. 130 videos out of over 500 that I had. Chances are I won't be able to get the rest, but I found these 130, again, at the behest of Nazarene Nazarite S.E. Hall, who said that I should recreate some of my informational content. And he drove me to investigate, and I found them over there. I knew I had some saved, but I did not know that I had saved 130 of them. From the very first one that I did on who is God and what is the nature of God. So if you want to know what I was doing in the Netherlands in 2018, check that out. Otherwise, I'm going to say goodnight. This has been such a pleasure. I feel so filled with positive vibration, energy, gratitude, and the desire to right my wrongs, to live righteously, to put into practice all of these things that we've been typing and writing and thinking, and to put it into practice, to implement it more and more and more until such a time where, there will be no sun, there will be no moon, God will be our light. Mamash kacha. Laila tov. Much love from Zion. This has been so much fun. Oh, wow. Whew.